Hi folks, this is Vicky from patternprincess.com. Today I want to show you how to work this really pretty shawl. It's in a half moon shape and I'm using one skein of yarn. This happens to be from Hobbi and it's called Twister. It's a number 2 fine yarn. There is 1,093 yards and it just says color 29. But as you can see, this is started off, whoopsies, went rolling away, with a white. Then it moved a little bit, it's a little bit tan. I don't know how well you can see that. And then it's starting to move into a little bit darker tan. And of course the inside here, we're gonna go all the way to a chocolate brown to a very dark brown. So I think this is gonna be a really pretty shawl, and it's a very, very easy stitch. Even though this looks hard, you know, because it's such a, sometimes I get afraid of working with fine yarns, but I'm getting more and more bold as I go along here. But as you can see, I'm trying to just show you. It's a little bit hard to see with the camera so close up, but it's just, the whole thing just works. It's a half moon. Here's where I started, and you can see the rows. We go half moon here, and we just keep building. So it's almost as you're going to be doing a circle. If you've ever made a basket or a hat, you kind of work in a circle and you make it bigger sometimes. So you can kind of see it's getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And of course it's going to keep growing. I'm just going to keep going until we get her done. In each row you continue to add 8 stitches. That's the magic number. So this is just turning out really pretty. I'm going to show you on a little bit different yarn, just so that you can see the stitches, I think, better, on how to start this and how to work this. For the other yarn, I am using the same hook. This is an Odyssey Furls hook. It's a size H. So I am using the same hook with that. What I do to start this off is I do a slip stitch on my hook. So we're going to quickly do a slip stitch on my hook. Get this through. Then I'm going to chain 4. And then I'm going to slip stitch back through that first stitch. So 1, 2, whoopsies, 2, 3, 4. Then insert your hook back into the first chain and then just bring it through and slip stitch. Let me get rid of this tail so you can see. Slip stitch right back into that hook. So now what we have here, there's a hole, this little circle here. See that? We're going to be working now inside of that circle. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as your first double crochet. Okay? Then we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to do 7 double crochets right inside the circle. And I'm going to, normally what I like to do is carry this yarn tail over, and then I'm going to crochet over it. So let me start in that hook in the center, get over the yarn tail, and here we go with our, this would be considered our first full double crochet, just doing it that way without the chain 3. So we're going to count this though as 2 double crochet now. And then we go 3. We're going to have a total of 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this yarn, this green yarn here, is a chartreuse yarn that I had used in a blanket that I made for my son-in-law. And I just love how it turned out. That one is called the Springtime Soft Shells blanket, and then there's another one I added a brown border onto, and called it the Gloria Springtime Soft Shells. And that's the one I gave to him because in the border with the brown that I had, it created hearts. So now we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to chain 3, and the chain 3 at the beginning of the row is always going to count as a double crochet. So it's 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, and then in that same stitch we're going to do a double crochet. And then in every single stitch across, around, I don't know how we want to say this because it's kind of a half moon, but I guess across is going to be 2 double crochet in each stitch. So here we go. 1, 2. And when we get done, we should have a total in this row of 16 double crochet. And again, every single row that you do increases by 8. And I kind of stopped counting the rows once I got about halfway to where the mark is that I'm at the shawl now. I mean, I know what my stitch count is in between each spot, but you can kind of see where you should be, but I end up counting the very last set of stitches that I do to make sure I'm right before I go on to the next row in case I've missed something. But it just makes it a little bit easier pattern so that I'm not having to actually count so hard. And this last one sometimes is a little hard to get into, but we did. Okay, so now we have 16. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, and that is our second round. So our third round, the pattern already is going to end up, this is pretty much the pattern. We're just going to keep adding stitches in between those initial 8 double crochets. We're going to add stitches in between there. So when I'm going to go back to here. So when I talked before about adding stitches, each row between the double crochets there's going to be 2 double crochets in a spot. And I'm going to show you in this row coming up. So this row here started with 2 double crochet. It was a chain 3 and a double crochet in the same space. Then I'll show you in the green, you're going to, the row that we're on now, we're going to end up adding the 1 stitch, and then right away we're going to do 2 double crochet in the next stitch. But eventually you're going to have the 2 double crochet, and then here, this row here, I think I have 31 stitches from here to here, from here to here. Then in the next spot here, I have 2 double crochet. Then from here to the next spot where I have 2 double crochet is 31 stitches. And then there's the next spot where I have 2 double crochet, and that's here. So from between here and here, there's 31 stitches. And then there's the next spot. And all you gotta do is keep looking for where you did your 2 double crochet in the same spot, and there's 31. My next row after this is going to be 32 stitches in between. So I'm looking for my spot. Here it is. It took me a minute. So from here to here is 31. And it would be 8 times. Here to here is 31. And then here to here is 31. And then where I remember I talked about counting the stitches, the very last row, I would count after my 2 double crochet in the same spot. I would count each double crochet, and I come out with 31. When I turn it, it's going to be 2 double crochet in that first stitch, and then it's going to be 32 stitches in between each time I do 2 double crochet in the spot. So it's just repetitive, that, you know, you keep adding stitches, 8 stitches each row. So it makes it kind of nice it makes it a nice pattern. Once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. So let me do round 3. So again, we chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So now we're going to, right in the same spot, we're going to do double crochet. Okay. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do a double crochet, right, in the next stitch. Just 1. And then in the next stitch after this, we're going to do 2 double crochet. Sorry about that, I had to get more yarn. Okay, so we had 2 double crochet in the next, and then we have our first, and we're going to do 2 double crochet in this next stitch. But that's the pattern we repeat across, double crochet in the next. So we're adding our first stitch between our 2 double crochet each time. So do 2 double crochet, 2 double crochet, there we go, and then 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets. So we're alternating between 1 and the 2 in each stitch. There we go. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next, 1 good double crochet in the next, and 2 double crochets in the next, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then yes, I had to think a minute. 2 double crochets in the, I almost thought I messed up for a second, just for a second, but I was like, oh no, this is how it is. 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in this very last stitch. Because remember, I was saying that at the end of the row, at the last time I did the 2 double crochet in the stitch, I would just count the stitches after, and if that came out to the right number, which is 1, then we know we did right. Okay, so in this row here, we now have 24 stitches. So now in between, so again, like I was explaining, you add 1 stitch in between your double crochets, or your, I should say, your 2 double crochets that are together in the same stitch. You add your stitches, well, I'm saying this wrong. I'll do this 1, 2, 3. That counts, the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. We're going to do a double crochet in the same stitch. So what I'm trying to say is, in the next 2 stitches now, instead of 1 stitch, now it's in the next 2 stitches. Here's what I mean, where we add a single double crochet in each stitch. In between the next stitch then would be the 2 double crochet. So in between each stitch where you do the 2 double crochet, we end up adding a stitch. So we have our 2 double crochet, and then we do a double crochet in the next stitch, a double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet in the next stitch. So then a double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Hopefully what I said now, it makes sense with what I'm doing. And then 2 double crochet in the same stitch, and then a double crochet, 2 double crochet, and I'll make sure that on the written pattern I have a chart so that you know how many stitches per row, and that way you can mark them off too as you start and stop each row. I find that very helpful when you get projects like this that you have to count, and it gets bigger each time. So we got 1, 2, 2 in the same spot, and then I'll start the next row off for you too, just to make clear what I mean by the stitches in between and counting those end stitches. Now, like I said, when you don't have many stitches, it's not so hard to count each one, but when all of a sudden you have 30 some stitches in between each time you do the 2 double crochet in the same spot, well, you kind of forget what count you're on anyway, and then you have to recount it, and it takes too much time. So I just got used to visually looking for my 2 double crochet in the same stitch, and then I knew how many I had to have in between. So you will develop your own pattern, own method of being able to recognize that too as you work through it. So 1, 2, and then we have 2 double crochet in the same stitch. And then now we have 2 more stitches left. We should have 2 more stitches left, right? Because we're doing 2 double crochet in between each time you have your 2 double crochet in the same stitch. And then we have that row done, and we should have, this is row 4, we should have 32 in this stitch. So this one here, now we're going to add 3 stitches in between. So 1, 2, 3, double crochet in the same stitch. So hopefully this now is starting to make sense. So in the next 3 stitches, we're going to double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to do 2 double crochet in this next stitch. 1, 2, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochet in this stitch, 1, 2, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochet, 1, 2 in the same spot. So you can see I'm going to go all the way around, and it's starting to get that nice half moon shape, and it's really lays nice and flat. It's a wonderful way to work this. When I get over here, I'll have those 3 stitches here. After my double crochet is going to end up to be right on top of this one, my 2 double crochets together in the same stitch, and then I'll have 3 double crochet, and I'll turn it, and then I'll be adding 4. So each round you're adding 1 more stitch in between each sets of 2 double crochet in the same stitch. And before long, if you're working with this nice thin yarn, this is just going to have a lovely drape and flow, and it's a nice way to use one of these one skein, these nice large one skeins up with a nice thick little thread like yarn. Like I said, at first I was a little bit afraid to work with thread like yarn, but I'm really kind of falling in love with these. I keep finding new patterns to work these with. So I hope that you enjoy this pattern. I hope that this inspires you to try this as well. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And the written pattern will be on the website. There'll be information in the directions of this pattern below and below the video. Thank you.